Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of ZB's Horsepower Talk. As always, I am ZB, Zack Brown, and joining with me, as always, is former 410 Sprint Car crew chief and mechanic, my dad, Jeff Brown. The Clash is back. NASCAR is back this week as we await the Super Bowl coming up next week. Go Birds, they're in it. But we have this week to talk about racing, kind of get you through the lull of waiting for the Super Bowl. So it's always a good timing for the Clash to be here. And before you know it, the Daytona 500 will be around the corner and we'll be racing for points. But Bowman Gray Stadium is back in NASCAR Classic race car track. It hasn't gone away. It's been racing some modified, some late model races. They put on really good shows. They show them on Flow Racing quite a lot, and there's a lot of temperament that happens. So might see a lot of that this weekend at Bowman Gray with the Cup drivers racing for, well, money and glory.
Yeah, I think so. If you don't know, Bowman Gray is a completely flat. It says 0-degree banking. So quarter-mile track. Basically, it's an asphalt track around a football field. And I just found out today, I was just reading some information that R.J. Reynolds High School and Parkland High School actually used that for their football field until they built their own. So that's pretty cool. So it's in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. So it's Saturday and Sunday night. I think it's Sunday at 8. And I haven't really seen what the temperatures are, but it's probably going to be a little chilly. So this is going to be interesting. Those heavy cars, well, I mean, the tracks when they built them out in LA were completely flat. So at least this is a permanent, facility. So there shouldn't be any issues with asphalt holding up. It's going to be interesting. I don't even know what to expect. If I had to guess, I'm thinking it's going to be a crash fest. I think you're going to have to move people to pass them. But I think be just a boring follow leader. It could very well be, but I think somebody's going to be ballsy enough and just start making moves.
I think it'll be a better version than what we saw out in LA because that was a brand new racetrack every year they raced it, so there was never any age to the track. There weren't any grooves that could have been made in it. There isn't any, potholes, little small, and just the track coming up. No, nothing that aged the track. Nothing that made it. Nothing that naturally made it a better surface for these drivers. This has, and they have not repaved it. Now they revamped the stands and they made it updated with safer barriers, kind of what they did with North Wilkesboro. But it's not a repaved track, and it didn't really need to be repaved. It's not like how Wilkesboro, it needed a repave. It didn't need it badly. I think it's for the length that they're going to have of the race, it'll be perfect. And you'll see tire wear the way it needs to be. And again, there's no points, so why not just go for it? You're not going to – I think there will be passing. The Coliseum, there wasn't. You couldn't even bump and pass anybody. Just the cars wouldn't move. They were just glued to each other. Unless you blatantly took somebody out, you couldn't bump and run. I think you will see bump and run here. You might see similar strategies as they had out in the Coliseum because it's the same size track, but it is a completely different race surface, and the weather conditions are completely different than California. It's going to be chilly at night, and you're going to see that transition from the entire day when you see in the whole weekend going from the qualifying down into the nighttime on Sunday night. The weather's so unpredictable in North Carolina. Today was nearly 70 degrees, and we're supposed to have rain on Friday. So you'll have a green racetrack. I assume it's going to rain in Winston-Salem. Usually does if it rains here. Then who knows everything can be thrown out. I mean, you're going to have completely different setups from qualifying heats all the way to the main event.
Yeah, who knows what. I'm assuming they had some tire testing going on there with Goodyear. I didn't really see much about it. Hopefully they don't bring a tire that sticks too good, like you said, out in LA. The things just stuck, didn't move. I'd like to see a tire, where the cars really, in my opinion, I think it'd be better if they really don't handle all that well, where maybe you can move a groove, get them out of the way.
I haven't seen the rules package for this weekend. I don't know if they are planning on doing the red and white tires like they were doing with Richmond was a points race, and they tested that out at Wilkesboro. You can test that out here. It's non-points race. these are always good events that NASCAR can test out stuff if they want to, because
Yeah.
nothing's really on the line besides some money, and then you get to say you won the first race of the year. I think this is going to go over a lot well in the ratings than California did, because nobody cared. Nobody cared about the LA Coliseum. The freaking Bowman Gray Stadium, it's going to be completely sold out. You're going to see a lot more rednecks at this one. You're not going to see random West Coast rappers put on the halftime show or whatever they did over at the Coliseum. If they do anything like that, it's going to be some sort of country star or something and make it feel like an actual NASCAR race and not some just basic sporting event that's not NASCAR. I mean, NASCAR is and I like what they've been doing. They're bringing it back to the roots, and I've said it time and time and again. That's what they needed to do. And you got Rockingham coming up in a couple months. It's the same thing. You're going to see people just show up to these because they've missed them. They took them for granted. I don't think they're going to do it again. They want to see this succeed. They want to see Wilkesboro succeed. They want them to have a points race. Shoot, if Bowman Gray does well enough, you might see them eventually get a points race.
Yeah, or possibly the All-Star race moved to there or something like that. Yeah, this is definitely, old school NASCAR. You might get the guys that really haven't been paying a whole lot of attention coming out just because, they used to see Richard Petty run at Bowman Gray Stadium and Lee Petty run and things like that. I don't know I'm assuming they probably ran there. But, so definitely going to get the yeehaw factor going on in the stands this week. That's for sure.
100%. And we've seen this iconic race go through different names throughout the years. It was, as far one, basically me growing up, it was the Budweiser Shootout, and then just became the Shootout, and then went to the Clash, and then the Clash at the Coliseum, and now it's still just the Clash. I don't know what it used to be called a long time.
The Busch Clash.
Just the Busch Clash. So It's gone from different names and different names. Clash is a cool name. I don't know if you could change. I like to call them the Shootout. Probably offended people. That's why they had to change it. I don't know. I don't know if you could call it anything else. A lot of people look at the race like, what the hell does a Clash mean? I don't know any of that. I know the Clash of Clans, the app that is on. Nobody knows what the Clash is. I don't know if you could name anything different. I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't even know any type of names you could. Just the NASCAR season opener, the premiere race.
I like the Clash. Anybody that's watched it, you talk about the Clash. Okay, first race of the year, and then be like, oh shit, it's not Daytona anymore. So
if it does it like this, and it has, like, for instance, tracks like Bowman Gray and those small communities, I'm all for the Clash going to different places other than Daytona. I always liked Daytona being it, and I'm not even on a soapbox this year. I was pissed off last year getting into this week because I hated the Clash at the Coliseum because I thought it was stupid. I think it's awesome going to these historic tracks, no matter what type of racing they're doing. They're bringing in money, they're bringing in people, and they're showing where NASCAR came from. I'm all for it if it wanted to switch every couple years to historic NASCAR roots tracks.
The problem NASCAR had with it at Daytona, it's weird. Something weird's going on, but the crowds weren't there, but they were charging so much money to come see this race. It used to be like $20 maybe to go and see the Clash, and then one time we went, I think it was like $70 or $80 when it was the Bud Shootout. It was like $70 or $80, but it was the ARCA race and then the Clash. Nobody wants to go see, pay that much money for it, and people didn't show up. $20, they'd show up, and they're still going to drop $100. They're going to be buying T-shirts and hot dogs and beers,
that kind of leads.
That's where they really screw up.
That leads me into the little game I wanted to play today. I want to match up prices of races that I've looked up this year in NASCAR, the crown jewel ones and some other ones, and see if you can pick out which price goes where. I'm going to round up because I'm not going to give you like the exact amount, and it kind of depends which ticket place you're looking for. Can you match these ticket prices with the race for this year? So your choices are the Clash, obviously. Talking about that this week. The Coca-Cola 600, the Daytona 500, the Brickyard 400, the NASCAR All-Star Race, and the Southern 500.
Okay.
All right. I'm just going to give you a number, and all these numbers match up to something. First one up, $75.
The Southern 500.
No, it is not.
No.
This one
the All-Star?
is... What?
All-Star?
Nope. Coca-Cola 600. $75.
I figured that would be more than that.
$55.
Okay. That sounds like Darlington.
That's Darlington. That's the Southern 500.
I knew Darlington wasn't super, super expensive.
No, it's not. $50.
Let's go. Let's do the Clash.
No.
No. All-Star?
No, it is not. That is the Brickyard 400.
No kidding.
If you think about it, the Indy 500 was not crazy expensive tickets either, so it could be an Indianapolis thing. $70.
So what we got? Well, I know Daytona's more than $70. Let's do All-Star.
All-Star race is $70. Again, this is a rounded number. It's
ish.
Now you have two races left. You have the Clash and Daytona 500. $200.
That's got to be Daytona 500.
It is not.
No
the
kidding?
Clash at Bowman Gray starts at $200.
Wow.
And it's going to be sold. So this is in effect.
Screwing up. They'll do it once.
Well, Wilkesboro, their cheapest tickets were like $200, $250 last year, and they sold out. Now they lowered the prices, and it's back to $50-something. That's probably the way to do it then. And finally, $80. The only one.
Daytona's only $80.
Daytona 500 is $80. I mean, that's
Which
for the
is
cheapest
weird
ticket.
because the Xfinity race is like $60.
Yeah, so I mean, it depends where you decide to sit. I mean, you probably sitting behind like a random camper or something and have somebody in your face the entire time. But that is the cheapest ticket, and you can always search around whatever type of ticket agency you use. There's a deal somewhere. So, and we did that, and I did that for the Indianapolis 500. We've done it for a lot of things, and that you can usually get it cheaper than just going to their racetrack site because they always want to charge you more when you're going to the racetrack. Now, if you work with some of the NASCAR people and you've been to the races, they'll call you and you can reserve your tickets like we did for Talladega a lot cheaper than any of these other sites show because they're like, well, you're here, we'll give you the discount and we appreciate your business. So that's a nice thing that NASCAR does, especially the more independent tracks rather than the ones that are owned by Bruton Smith's company.
Yeah, well, the other ones are owned by NASCAR, so.
Well, but it seems like they're finally getting in reasonable territory with stuff, and you'll see prices likely go down as the year goes on. $50 for Darlington is great, and I think that's roughly what I spent a couple years ago when I went to Darlington. So that really hasn't changed, and that's how Martinsville is. Those smaller town tracks, that's really what they should be. I think $50.
Even Talladega wasn't that bad for the whole weekend.
No, Talladega had the best deal when you could see the Xfinity and the truck race in one day and then the Cup race. So when they had 3 races in one weekend, that was fantastic.
And qualifying.
I think it was $200 total for like both tickets for both days total.
Right. Because that one time we got there just at the end, they were doing final round qualifying as we pulled in and got to see that. So that was pretty cool.
But I think the best bang for your buck is the Southern 500. I mean, you're going to one of the most historic races and legendary races and legendary tracks, and for $50, I mean, it's worth it.
I thought about going up to the Xfinity race, but it's a little more than I want to spend to go see the Xfinity race. I think it's Xfinity and ARCA.
For Daytona?
Yeah. It was day before Mom's birthday.
They're always going to have a little bit higher prices for the premier race.
Oh, sure.
I mean, that's just going to be how it is. But Xfinity, they usually have a good crowd at Daytona. Even the Truck Series do. It's the first race. if they had a whole package for all three, it would benefit greatly. You get in Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but no one wants to listen to us over at NASCAR about that stuff. But again, Bowman Gray. I looked it up because I'm not off this weekend, but I could have been if I wanted to. And if it was a reasonable price, I would have likely went. It was like $40-$50. I probably would have went.
Yeah,
$200. That's like
I wouldn't have expected that. And yeah, they'll be sold out. Like I said,
it'll be sold out because that's what they did for North Wilkesboro, and because they haven't been there in so long.
Yeah.
News out of NASCAR. I don't know if you happen to follow along at all this week, but they did some tire testing for Xfinity and Truck Series at Rockingham this past weekend. Actually, our one guest has been on the show a couple times, Caleb Costner. He posted on his Snapchat that he was at Rockingham watching the tire testing. I don't know if it was free for everybody to just come view. It had some people in the crowd, and they got to see that. One of the names testing out an Xfinity car was Casey Kane. Saw him making some laps around there. And I believe Corey Day was in the truck for Hendrick testing out there. So some new names, some old names, but haven't been in NASCAR in a long time. So got to make some runs around.
Was it the last truck race at Rockingham? Casey Kane won?
I believe so.
In a truck?
And that was
won a truck.
It kind of blew our mind that they never went back to Rockingham after that. And I think that might have been like 2012, around there. And all of a sudden, that's when we thought, oh, this is the resurgence of Rockingham. And after that, it just died off and became irrelevant.
It's a shame. It's a neat track. I hope it does.
It looked really, really good. Everything looked really nice. Whatever they needed to do I think they've been keeping up with it, like maintaining the track. So it wasn't like they had to fill in overgrown weed cracks and stuff through the track. It looked like the facility's in top-notch condition, and I think it'll be pretty big event. It'll probably be the biggest event for trucks and Xfinity for the entire year. I'm willing to bet that. Maybe besides the championship.
Maybe Daytona, but
well, I think for truck, Rockingham's going to be the biggest one. I don't think it's going to be competitive. I wonder if ARCA's racing in Rockingham. I feel like they are. Not sure.
But speaking of that, ARCA is in the new NASCAR Heat game.
They are. Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so you can start your career off in ARCA, work your way up through it.
Still no dirt to Daytona.
I don't know when the release date is for the NASCAR. It's probably the fall. They usually traditionally release in September, but it's kind of new. iRacing's handling all the physics and engineering for it, and it's supposed to be the most realistic game that they have. And they said that every year they release a new game, and then it's just might as well just get iRacing, because it's at that point. But yeah, I think it'll be probably their best seller in a long time. iRacing, I believe, did the last sprint car racing game, or at least was somewhat affiliated with it, and it was a pretty decent success. Still would like to see drag racing and actual iRacing itself. There is a little drag racing game on PS5, and it's not bad. I'd still like to do it on the actual iRacing simulator, but not bad. But I think that really does it. Oh, no, does it for this week. We got to give our picks for this week, of course. This is our first week giving picks for the new season. So, only one race to give picks, and it's non-points race. It's a new place, so let's, newish old place, I guess. Revamp place. Go ahead with your pick for the Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium.
Yeah, somewhere in my mind, you almost got to think Joey Logano, just the way they go to a new track and that team is going off. But I'm going to go a little different. This guy finally got some permission to run some dirt races. Going to be in the 69K next week in Volusia. I'm going to go with Christopher Bell on the short track.
All right. Did Mom make a pick?
I didn't ask her.
Okay.
My bad.
So I'm going with your logic, going somewhere where you haven't gone before. He always seems to win these races. Won the first Clash at the Coliseum. Wins the first championship in the new generation car. He is your defending champion. I have Joey Logano winning the Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium.
Very possible,
Just something
it's
about
hard to go against him, but I'm trying to be against the status quo.
It's just hard for me to pick against him going somewhere new, and until I'm really proven otherwise, he just time and time again he keeps winning these races, and it can be frustrating. It's like, damn, like why are you so good at just figuring these tracks out so quickly, so quicker than everybody else? But also, it makes you look smart if you pick them. So,
yep.
and I think you'll see a lot of the analysts at Fox pick Joey Logano for the same reason. And he's got all of the momentum from winning the championship. You have not seen him really. He doesn't really race in the offseason, doesn't do anything in the offseason. I think his one kid races, if I'm not mistaken, like go-karts or something. But he's really low-key in the offseason. You don't hear much about him. I think this will be a pretty exciting race. I think you're going to see Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson mix it up at the front. I wouldn't be surprised if they run too hard that they actually wreck themselves. They spin out and they try too hard. You see that between those two drivers. And we'll see.
Yeah, I can see Larson overdriving it and screwing up.
He's done it. He's done it in the Clash races. That's
sometimes you have to take what it's going to give you, and that's not acceptable to him. And
I wouldn't be shocked if you see drivers like Ross Chastain run really well here.
Yeah,
aggressive drivers. I think this one, it's not. You're not going to just play it by ear, get by, and then show up at the end. The aggressive drivers will win this one.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't think it's one like Martinsville where you can kind of just just slowly make your way through the field.
It's
and
only 250 laps on a quarter mile. It's not long.
No, it's not going to take long. And I believe they split it in half if they have the same format from last year. So the heats are really the most exciting part about these because they're 25 laps. And those will be pretty awesome. So I'm excited to see that.
They're on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess time trials and heats are on Saturday. Time trial sets up the heat lineups.
Yep.
And, I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be a fun event. Hopefully NASCAR entertains the crowd that's there, makes them want to come back, makes it want to be a regular thing, and potentially look at restoring some of these other tracks, part of the NASCAR routes, and bring some cup races to it, whether it's non-points or even points eventually. I like to see it. They tried West Coast for a lot of things. Besides Sonoma, it doesn't really pan out. Even Vegas doesn't get a great crowd.
I know the reasoning behind it's a huge marketing area. It's just not,
people just don't care out
big
there.
race fans out there.
And if they don't want to watch it, they're just, and they haven't cared ever before, they're not going to go see it. It's just that's just how it is.
The races at California Speedway, that was a pretty good track there at the end. That was pretty good racing.
Yeah, and we said for later this year, Mexico City, that's probably gonna be big.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Especially how many Mexicans come up to watch Suarez race at like Sonoma or even Phoenix and all those closer tracks. Now he's going to go home to his home track, essentially his home track. I don't think exactly from there, but his home country track. And I think that will be really big. And I think there are a lot of NASCAR fans in Mexico that follow along. There's a lot of Formula One fans that are international based too. Yeah. So I think that will kind of go along with it as well. All right, well, we got our picks in for Bowman Gray. We'll see who is right or how we both jinx both of these drivers. We'll see how we do this year on picks. I'm going to try to keep tallies on it for the Cup races, see how we do. most of the time I jinx the hell out of everyone. So I apologize, Joey. We did actually get the championship pick right because it was a clean sweep last year at the very end for the Cup Series. We went out on a limb and went Joey Logano. So
Yeah.
But make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow anywhere you get your podcast, and follow on the YouTube channel and all social media. We will be back in action next week to talk about what we saw at the Clash, and damn right, we're probably going to do some Super Bowl / Daytona 500 collab games for next week. So stay tuned for that. See you guys then.
Wait, bye.